You know, the experience of 9/11 resonates with many of us as an attack on our country. While indeed this was the case, the physical attack occurred directly to individuals and to companies that were residing in the World Trade Center. The experience was undoubtedly the most challenging a corporate executive could face, both personally and professionally. Our next panelist faced that directly. William Y. Yan is president of Fiduciary Trust Corporation Company International. Mr. Yan was responsible for the personnel and the organization of departments following the 9/11 event. He works closely with Chairman and CEO Ann Tatlock, as well as Fiduciary's Management Committee and its emergency management team on emergency preparedness and disaster recovery issues since that time. We appreciate very much the fact that you took the time to be here with us today and spoke about what I know was the most difficult day for your company, for your colleagues, and if you're willing to share with us some of the lessons that have been learned. Mr. Young.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to the members of the 9/11 Commission. I'm very pleased to have the opportunity to speak with you today and answer any questions you may have regarding 9/11 and our response and our continued preparedness for other types of disaster scenarios. Just in terms of background, Fiduciary Trust was located and headquartered in the South Tower, World Trade Center 2 on the 90th and 94th through 97th floors. We tragically lost 87 employees that day and 7 business partners who were also on our premises on 9/11. I was there earlier in the morning but had left by 7:30 to go see a client, so I was one of the fortunate ones who was out of the building at that time. We're an investment management company, and we are also a subsidiary of Franklin Templeton Investments, which is the large mutual fund company based out in San Mateo. And that was, I'll get to that later, but that's an important part of the whole story of our 9/11 recovery. In terms of just our background for 9/11, we did have a disaster recovery and plan in part due to our concerns about potential power outages affecting our business and being up in the World Trade Center. So we had conceived a disaster recovery plan in the mid-'80s under the leadership of our former chairman, and again, the concern there was a power outage. After the 93 bombing on the center, we were able to take advantage of this disaster recovery plan by being able to use facilities outside of New York City and New Jersey. We had established an off-site disaster recovery facility through an agreement with SunGard, which was a company that is involved in this business on a national basis. We were outside of our premises for approximately 5 weeks, but in that time we did learn a number of lessons in terms of our preparedness, not only for employees but also for running our business overall. One of the key things was obviously data backup, and in terms of what we did to improve our systems at that point was not to have it stored in our current headquarters, but to move that data facility outside of our headquarters, and we in fact moved that to a SunGard facility where we use their premises for any types of business continuity. We also created business plans, business continuity plans in terms of how we would run our business. Fortunately, those types of items were critical in terms of our recovery in 9/11. You asked in your letter to me several issues you'd like me to address, and I'll go through each one of those. And I'll just start with the first one. What were the key issues that we faced as an organization on 9/11? And obviously the first one was employees, employee safety, who was where, who was accounted for, who was missing, and certainly communication with families, clients, and any types of associates with our business. That was our number one priority and number one concern. And we were fortunate in having a parent that was based out in California that acted as an off-site command center for us, which was able to effectively put together information for us and be able to help on communication lines on a constant basis. In fact, we had hourly calls where we described first update situations on who was missing, who was accounted for, and that was ultimately enabled us to make plans for how we would move forward as an operating entity. So we used many types of communication, and I would emphasize that that was probably one of the key elements that we took away from the 9/11 disaster was safety of our employees, but then communication on what was happening with the business and the employees overall. We had a 24-hour hotline with messages updated to keep people informed, families informed of the business of what was happening in terms of our organization, our people, recorded telephone updates, conference calls, regional office assistants, websites. We lost our website as a company where we had our server based in New York, but again, our parent company was able to reestablish that quickly. That became our message board, and for many families to be able to communicate to one another in terms of what was happening, in terms of any information we could provide for our families overall. In terms of, again, other issues, obviously employee safety is first. We were really following the directions of the Port Authority and following their guidance in terms of what we should do as an organization in terms of our evacuation of the building. Just other points in terms of ultimately we needed to restart the business, and that was done out of our disaster recovery center out in New Jersey. As Mr. Chairman indicated, I was responsible for our personnel, but also in terms of reestablishing our business. One of the first things we look at as a financial organization is our core systems, our critical systems. We had over 30 systems that we needed to establish as a business to get up and running again so we could operate going forward. We had tremendous support, and not only from our employees, people who were doing everything humanly possible and beyond to reestablish our business, and for that I'm truly grateful for all the efforts shown on that day. Tremendous support from our parent company and from outside vendors such as SunGard and IBM in terms of helping us get back to running our company. We were able, as a bank, we needed liquidity. We were able to establish a Fed wire on Wednesday. We were able to establish our bond trading capabilities on Thursday. And then over the weekend, we were able to get our office and our business back for the opening of the equity markets on that following Monday. We established, while we were out of New York, we did soon and quickly thereafter sign an office lease in Midtown Manhattan at Rock Center. We're located there permanently, but we felt that was an important sign for our employees to show that we were not only back in business, but we were committed to New York and to show a stability for our clients overall. So we learned, we had many key issues facing us on 9/11. Obviously, the emotional ones, the personal ones, were the hardest to work through. But again, it was something that we as an organization pulled together, not only with families but employees. And again, I thank everyone for their incredible efforts there. The next question you asked was, what have we changed in terms of our emergency preparedness, crisis management, and continuity of our business since 9/11? And one of the things that we did as a business was we accelerated our integration with our parent company. We had sold our company in April of 2001, so integration efforts were beginning. But quickly after 9/11, we accelerated our business and vastly transformed many of our operating and technology systems. One of the key things was relocating our data center. What we felt was important was not to have it regionally located, so we moved our data center out to California, which we felt mitigated further risks to our business by having it outside the region. That facility is since backed up outside of California in Colorado. So we have redundancy of our business and off-site data center storage. In terms of our local business, all of our business units have developed business continuity plans. In effect, how to run our business if we're out of the office. These are inclusive of call trees, personnel reports, contact numbers, etc. This was very effective in the blackout of earlier this year, and it continues to be something that we test on a regular basis. You mentioned our emergency management team, which I'm a member of. We also review, and I think I heard earlier today, tabletop exercises. We do that on a frequent basis as well. We also have a very good partnership with the building management at Rockefeller Center, and I feel that that is something that we benefit from as an organization in working with our property manager in terms of safety, evacuation drills, fire drills, etc. And then finally, obviously our employees have gone through a considerable amount, so there's a heightened awareness in terms of safety, evacuation procedures, etc. So this is on the forefront of everyone's mind in our organization. We did move to, as a conscious decision, move to lower floors instead of being up on the 90th and 94th floors. We are now located on floors 2 and 4 through 7, and I think people take a great comfort from that from an employee standpoint as how we are located in New York in today's environment. So we feel like we've done quite a bit in terms of our disaster preparedness. In fact, we also do twice annually disaster recovery preparation or testing in our off-site facility, bringing up our systems from scratch. We again have the same number of critical systems, but we are able, in fact, we were able to bring up all our systems within 2 hours. So the improvements in technology improvements over the last several years have increased our ability to recover our business, and we feel we're very prepared from that perspective. We continue to learn by various training exercises, and that's one of the things I would recommend for corporations in the private sector, continual training, because every time you go through an exercise, you learn something different. One of the things we learned just recently was that some of our critical storage files, email files, bringing up those applications, we decided that we have so much in terms of our storage of emails with something like 600 gigabytes that we decided that takes time to bring up. What we wanted to do was, and what we're going to do is have our employees have a specially designed DR file, critical files that they need to bring up or emails that they need to bring up going forward that will save time ultimately and bring up the less critical ones at a later point in time. The next question you asked is, what is the role of, as president, and that of senior management in setting the tone and leadership for emergency preparedness? This is absolutely critical. I think that if it doesn't come from the top, then the rest of the organization will not be sensitized to it and not take it seriously. So all our senior management is involved in terms of emergency preparedness and really sets the tone. We report this to our board of directors and give updates in terms of our disaster recovery plans for recent exercises that we've gone through. The board is very interested in this. I think it's something that many organizations have adopted, wanting to know what preparedness efforts are underway. It's critical, again, for the employees, but also for an ability to run a business. What is the planning process here? And as board members, as directors, they ultimately have the governance and the oversight for the business and the shareholders and the interests of the overall concern. The next question you asked is, what would be some of the key recommendations that we would give to other companies that may have not faced our situation on 9/11? And again, it goes back to having a plan, a detailed plan and to practice these plans and to have regular exercises going through this. You learn continually through it, and even the best plans require ad hoc decision making, and that is the importance of having a good call tree, a good communication center, one that is regular, one where you have special dial-in numbers, and one that is effective and practiced frequently. The other thing I would recommend to companies is that to manage the risk of the business and of a disaster happening, you have to have key critical information or data centers off-site, off-location, outside the region perhaps, and you also have to have personnel that can make decisions outside the region. Our senior management is based in New York, but after 9/11 we decided that we needed to have managers or other individuals located outside of New York that could make decisions in the event that somehow the senior management in New York was not able to, or was traveling, etc. So we have a much more diversified approach to a disaster that is outside of New York and that encompasses several regions. I'd also emphasize the business continuity efforts of organizations. In fact, we're going through one right now in our Miami office where we're expecting to see quite a bit of protests and demonstrations. So we have people from that office operating out of a Fort Lauderdale location, out of their homes, out of New York today. And again, we're able to conduct our business and be able to effectively communicate to employees, clients, and to manage the business outside of the regional location. Those are some of the recommendations I have, but again, the most important one is employee safety, and that cannot be underscored enough in terms of sensitizing the employees to what is important in terms of their overall safety. And then lastly, you asked what is the role of the public sector in helping your company in this area and what else could be done. Well, again, we feel and we want to be partners. I think that's the best way it works for private companies, is to have good chains of information, of any types of communication, broader networks. I would love to see more available from web access, other types of communication forms, so that we can make our decisions quickly. Once decisions have been made from a top-down level, a city or governmental level, we as a private concern or business entity can make our decisions based on those top-down concerns, or you know, in fact, pass those on to our building management, and then they can pass that on to us. But it's timeliness, it's information, it's accuracy, and all those things play into what I think is a successful communication chain of command or linkage, so that we can effectively make decisions and take care of our employees and our business. I'll end my formal comments there, and I'm very pleased to answer any questions you may have regarding 9/11 or our continued preparedness.